Well, hello. I think I'm live. If you can hear me, put something in the chat. I believe we are now currently live. I am coming at you just after watching it myself, literally just off the back of watching this, and I am speechless. I'm
I put
speechless.
something in the
I
chat.
oh, I
That's
believe we are
I'm
now
getting
currently live.
I'm
I
getting
am coming
feedback.
at
Hold
you
on.
just after
There we
watching
go.
it. Can you hear me? I believe you can because I've just heard it on my end. So that should mean yes. Um, but yeah, if you can hear me, just let me know. You are live. Good, good, excellent, 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 excellent. Hello, everyone. All right, so I am speechless. There was so many twists and turns in that, and it was genuinely incredible to watch. I sat down and I watched it in the dark on my own. I sat down and watched it in the dark like I was in a cinema, and my god, um, what a show, man! Can we just say that? I don't even know where to begin breaking down this show because there's so much to like go over. But first of all, if you're new, subscribe. I guess that's there's actually all I've fixed all of the notifications. So if you hear notifications, if you put in like a super chat, I think, or a membership or a subscription, they will come through on the screen. So hopefully that works now. But yeah, I'm just gonna get right into it. Um, yeah, RIP everyone, apparently. Literally. Like, oh my god. Alright, so I want to take it bit by bit. So what I'm going to do is to have a bit of structure to this live stream. Because I don't normally do these reviews live. I tend to do them, sort of on my own. And I'll edit out, I'll edit out bits and I'll edit around bits to make it flow well. So instead, what I'm going to do, I have my iPlayer up right now. So what I'm going to do is I am just going to scrub through both episodes, and we are going to go sequentially because it's very tempting for me to sort of skip to the end. We've just had a subscription, so there we go. Connor White Media just subscribed. There you go. So if you subscribe, you get your name and Peter Capaldi there. And also chat is on the screen. So Pete McTeague, the Savior, is looking like it. I mean, yeah. Okay, so opens obviously just as we leave off. The opening of episode 3 basically revolves around them sorting out, let me skip through the title sequence, submersing themselves in the water. Obviously they have Barclay there, General Austin Pierce there, two diplomats, I believe, from other countries. It was a diplomatic lottery, as we find out. One of them was from India. Thank you to whoever just subscribed. Let me just double check who that was. Lucy Bailey, thank you. Thank you very much. So yeah, so it starts out basically with them preparing to go underwater, and they're all naturally and quite expectedly very nervous to do that. So the most of like the sort of first, I would say 20 minutes of the first episode are basically them preparing. But at around the 15-minute mark, we get these scenes with Kate where she is in the Cobra meetings with the Prime Minister, the head of what I assume is the American Army, that French betrayer woman, and the businessman who is like a collaborator with the Prime Minister, whose name escapes me. Was it Keith something? Something like that. And like obviously Kate calls out rightly like, why are you here? This is a Cobra meeting, an advanced Cobra meeting. But obviously because he has the ear of the Prime Minister and his business interests, obviously he is allowed into these meetings when he really shouldn't be. And I gotta say, these two episodes, one of the things I want to point out immediately, if we're jumping right into this, is what these two episodes do for Kate's character is genuinely remarkable. I absolutely love the way that Kate is portrayed in this show, but particularly in these two episodes. This woman who has been through so much, who has, fought through so much, and is just at the end of her rope with everything. And we're going to see that more and more as we go along, but my god, Gemma Redgrave's fantastic in this. That's one thing I want to say. Right off the rip. Speaking of fantastic performances, actually, while we're going through it, Barclay has the scene where he's being comforted by his family early on, where he kind of breaks down. And this does highlight one of my sort of slight criticisms, but I gotta say, obviously, you've come to me for my opinion, so naturally I'm gonna have like some criticisms, but I gotta say, I'm mostly glowing of these two episodes. The one criticism I do have, and I think it was there a bit in episode 1 and 2 as well, some of the dialogue is a little bit clunky. I noticed it sort of towards the beginning where Barclay said something to the effect of, well, I nursed my nan through cancer, I can do this. I just felt stuff like that was a bit too clunkily, like, delivered, and I think, not so much delivered, but more so, I don't think that's how a human would organically bring that up in conversations, you know what I mean? The flow of dialogue, a little bit off there, but I am nitpicking. But what I wanted to do by pointing that out is just to say that even if the dialogue is not 100% perfect, by God, this cast sells it, and Russell Tovey absolutely does. So yeah, obviously, they're all going underneath, and we get introduced to this guy. Now, I want to say, I immediately had sus vibes of this guy. Because obviously, we meet him, and he's this kind of, guy who is portraying this sense of, like, confidence from the off when we meet him. He's the only one who's completely unfazed by everything, but then slowly as we go down, obviously more of his nerves get revealed as we go on. Obviously, as it turns out, he probably wasn't nervous for the reasons that we thought he was nervous. It's highly likely that the reasons he was nervous happened later. So, in this scene, it is revealed that a globe is to be gifted by Homo Aqua. Now, initially, I didn't think much of this, as previously they'd been given gifts before. Obviously, they gave them... What did they give them the first time around? It was a plant, wasn't it? A plant that couldn't grow underwater, I believe. So I was like, okay, although having thought about it now, obviously with more time to think, I suppose it would have been odd to give them a gift after the plastic apocalypse occurred. So maybe that should have been a bit of a giveaway that something wasn't right there. So obviously all of these guys get sent down into the ocean. And Kate is basically really struggling up top to stop the military and the government going essentially nuclear, because as far as they're concerned, they've already basically declared war anyway, and the only way to stop this now is with violence and conquest. There's a line in there where one person agrees with Kate and says that we should continue the diplomatic path by effectively saying that, that's what we do. We conquer and we plunder. So I thought that was really interesting and a really interesting angle to take it as well. But it goes so much deeper than that. Quite literally, this episode is called, I think, The Deep, isn't it? So they get underwater, and obviously they meet up with Aquakind. I'm trying to skip ahead a bit here. There's so much to go over. I'm glad I did this in a live stream format, actually, because it means I can really break it down piece by piece. And we arrive at their base under the ocean. One other thing I want to point out about this show, and I said it in the first 2 weeks, but it really is highlighted in this episode in particular, episode 3. The visuals of this are fantastic. They do a really good job of showing you enough of the ocean base, of the Sea Devil's base, of Homo Aquakind's base, to make it look really interesting and intriguing, and like they've got a whole set of like technology onto themselves, but not so much to the point where you risk it looking fake. It's shot incredibly well. Like it looks convincing. Also, interestingly, I believe I immediately clocked this. I'm assuming those helmets are reused from the WoW, because they're the exact same shape. So I'm assuming they're reused there, which I'm not critiquing at all. I think that's actually a smart reuse. And actually, they use the same contaminant box for salt that they used in, I think it was Lucky Day, when they get the Shriek. So yeah, I thought that was, just cool reuse there, but made sense in the context of the universe. And obviously they arrive, and Salt basically says, oh, you can take off your protective gear, your respirators, your apparatus. And again, Ken is the one who says, I'd rather keep my one on. Which initially I was like, oh, he's just, unsure. But now it's kind of like, he was as distrustful of them because he himself was distrustful. Does that make sense? Like, because he was dodgy, he assumed that intent in them as well. When, if anything, the Homo aqua, the aqua kind, were more willing than the humans were in this case to negotiate. That doesn't mean that aqua kind get off the hook either, because there is a scene later on which we'll talk about, which kind of shows that they too have their flaws, just as we do. And this is kind of where the initial romance between Barclay and Salt is initially kind of put on display, which naturally gets expanded upon in the next sort of episode and sort of in the next few minutes of this story. I think that their chemistry is very good. I have seen some people, obviously I just had a quick scroll through to see what people were thinking. I did see a few people say that they felt that the dynamic between those two maybe was a little bit rushed for 5 episodes. I can kind of get that, but at the same time, for me it worked well enough to the point where I thought it was good. Thank you to Frankie's channel for subscribing. So I'm just going to quickly read some of chat whilst I'm here. Sorry if I miss chat, obviously. I'm probably going to miss chat because I myself am going through the episodes. So if I miss any chats, apologies. But if you super chat, you're basically guaranteed to see it because I'll get a noise come through. I'll turn down the noise in a second because some people are saying it's too loud. Hold on, let me do that. How do I turn it down? I've only just set them back up, so you'll forgive me if it's a little bit scuffed. I wanted to get it set up properly because I knew I was going to do this live. Hang on, sound volume. Here we go. I'll turn it down to 20%. So that is on 50%, so it should be better. Hopefully. Okay. There we go. Anyway. So, carrying on with what I was saying, let's have a look at what else this chat's saying. Jesus Christ, that TARDIS SFX made me shit myself. Sorry, I've turned it down. Sorry, I've turned down the noise. So, carrying on. Alright, so, they go down into the bottom of the ocean, and obviously the delegates are all sent down, and we think, or at least I assumed, that it was going to be a continuation of what we saw in the first 2 weeks, right, where they were going to continue to have talks, but except on their land, basically. But that's not what happened. We also get this scene as well, which is now just foreshadowing of Colonel Ibrahim confronting Kate and saying, you're running on empty, you're running on fumes, you need to stop, because if you don't, you're going to start shutting down, because apparently, like, if you don't sleep for 48 hours, your body begins to shut down, which does make sense. And so, obviously, they're carrying on the mission. Obviously, Kate's re-stressed because she doesn't know what's going on down there because they don't have communications that low down. Yeah, one of the interesting bits as well here is obviously Salt personally, wants to get Barclay on his own, specifically, without anyone else there, which made me think, okay, there's definitely something there. And obviously, they definitely do play up the tension with them. And I think Barclay has a line to the effect of something like, because obviously they feel each other's skin, and she's like, what do you feel? And he says, dread, but also beauty, I think is what he says. Because there's also some really interesting stuff here as well about, like, Sea Devils or Homo Aqua. I kind of say Sea Devils just out of habit, but obviously Homo Aqua is the collective term. They can basically like read human emotions like a lot easier, so there's a lot of kind of dialogue that pertains to that. So yes, obviously we get this huge like wide shot reveal. Actually, let me get a better shot of all of the Sea Devils in their base. And I mean, again, it looks absolutely fantastic. Like, I look at this and I think, oh, this is like a, proper high budget affair. Which it is, but obviously Doctor Who season 1 and 2 was also that. But this is the, like, first time I've probably felt it, which is funny because I would imagine the budget for this is significantly lower than the budget for Doctor Who seasons 1 and 2, and yet it has it looks visually much more interesting. Presumably that's because they can focus more on individual aspects of it rather than having to do so many different planets and creatures. But yeah, I just again want to highlight how good this show looks, and particularly again, Dylan Holmes Williams directing. There's some really lovely directorial choices once again throughout these 2 episodes, particularly the way the underwater sequences are shot, the lighting of them look absolutely fantastic. So yes, obviously we then okay. So this is where I've got to get into. Obviously, this is going to be full spoilers now. Obviously, it's spoilers in title, so you don't assume it. But this is the bit that obviously a lot of you were expecting me to probably get to. So we cut back to Kate's flat, which I have to say, Kate has a very nice flat. I don't think have we ever seen Kate's flat before? I know we saw it in the first 2, but prior to this, I mean, I don't believe we have. But she has a very nice flat, which makes sense. But Colonel Ibrahim basically says, "Oh, are we ever going to be open about us?" Because obviously we've known for a while that they've had something going on, but obviously whenever they have expressed it, it's been kind of in secret, right? Obviously in Lucky Day, I think she was seeing him after hours. Even just in that earlier scene, they kind of hold hands, but then quickly, they move the hands away as soon as any unit soldiers go past. And she's like, "Oh, I don't know. I can't think about that right now. There's humanity." And and she's like, "How can you think about anything like that?" And he goes, "I think about us all the time." And then something that I audibly gasped at happened. A gun is pointed at Kate Lethbridge Stewart, and Colonel Ibrahim grabs her and dives out of the way of it, but it does kill him in the process. Colonel Ibrahim is dead. Now, I can imagine for some corners of Doctor Who fandom, some corners of Doctor Who Twitter at least, they were probably happy about this, because there's some people who really didn't like the Kate and Ibrahim romance, but it does make sense when you think that it was building to this, right? You're supposed to basically see Kate being happy with this person, only for it to be ripped away from her. Obviously, again, very similarly, actually, to Children of Earth. Obviously, with Jack and Yanto. I will say, obviously, one of the issues with that is I would say that, the characters themselves aren't as strong as Jack and Yanto were by that time. But I think it also works incredibly effectively as a moment, nonetheless. I wasn't expecting it. And it just shows you that, oh no, this isn't Doctor Who. Anyone can die. Anything can happen here. And so Kate gets shot by an assassin who, they don't know who's hired, but it's revealed by the government people that there is a secondary organization who also sent Jeff, or is it Ken? Was it Ken or Jeff? I think it was Ken, actually. Who sent Ken down into the ocean with them, called, is it just called the Institute? I think it was. And apparently that's who basically attempted to kill Kate, and they used a hired gun from a terrorist organization to attempt to kill Kate, but of course they didn't succeed, but they did kill Colonel Ibrahim. Colonel Ibrahim is dead, which, again, I wasn't expecting. I think, though, it makes sense, because obviously it really furthers Kate's character in this show, because at this point now, obviously, in this part of the story, Kate has nothing to lose, and humanity has gone off the brink. Ken detonates that globe bomb thing, basically wiping out a ton of sea devils. Salt then basically, obviously, I'm going to skip to episode 4 now, rescues Barclay from the blast, but it still kills all the other people in the process. So General Pierce, as well, who has existed since, I believe it was Children of Earth where he's introduced. Was it earlier than that? I can't remember. Someone will correct me in the chat. So yeah, obviously, someone said that Colonel Ibrahim should have had more personality and screen time to make his death more impactful. Yeah, I kind of agree. I definitely see where you're coming from there. I think I agree, but also at the same time, I think it works for what they want to do with Kate. Someone said, but her baby, was the implication that she was pregnant? Because I didn't get that implication. I know that they mentioned her daughter, which is that the first time Who's mentioned that, or was it mentioned also in Power 3? I know that in expanded media it's been established that she has a daughter. But is this the first time that's been mentioned, like on screen? Obviously, a lot of people talking about 14 during all of this. I think that's the issue. It does make you wonder, doesn't it? So yeah, Colonel Ibrahim is dead, and the bomb gets detonated, which leads us into.
I have to get to him before.
That's not what that is. That's something else with Tom Hiddleston.
In the words of.
There we go. So, obviously, going into episode 4, it's also revealed that the group that devised this thing called the group that basically did that attack, launched that bomb, or are also now claiming that Salt has taken responsibility for it via a where is it? Where's the video? There it is. So they claim basically that Salt has claimed responsibility for this attack and said basically, you know, the war was ours, whatever. Obviously, this later gets revealed to be a deepfake, but it gives the military all the excuse they need to go in and basically, you know, go nuclear, essentially. And I want to say, I'm going to put this theory out there right now. This is probably obvious to some people, but obviously they're saying that, because there's basically two organizations, which gets confusing. There's the Institute, which obviously is this secret group that tried to apparently kill Kate, and we presume also put together this video. But there is also Severance. And Severance was the plan devised by those Cobra meetings by the Prime Minister and that business guy and the French betrayer woman, basically to detonate all of these like sonar like sort of devices to basically incapacitate the Sea Devils from all of their major trading routes, essentially to basically secure all the trading routes. But I think I'm probably not alone in thinking that those two groups are more connected than they are letting on to Kate or anyone else, because obviously they're saying that they had nothing to do with it, and particularly the French woman. I'm sorry, I'm really calling out this French lady. But like, she is smirking throughout all of this. I fully believe that they are lying, and that the Institute and these guys are all one thing. Like, I'm fully convinced that, like, this is the exact outcome they wanted from the jump, and they are just using this Institute as, like, a cover or whatever, because they say that the Institute that went for Kate was dealt with, I think, Shirley has a line where she says that the Americans dealt with it. But of course, the Americans could be lying, right? Like, they could totally lie and say, like, oh yeah, we've dealt with these people when they themselves were said people who were involved. But obviously, it is also revealed that the businessman who was friends with the Prime Minister was also part of that group. And obviously, if that gets out, then the Prime Minister is basically found culpable in this, because obviously he's part of Severance. That business guy was part of Severance, who led to the murder of a man, not obviously Kate Stewart, but that's who they were aiming for, Colonel Ibrahim. And obviously if that gets out, you know, it causes a massive issue for him. So he basically says, sort this out any way you can. So basically, by the Prime Minister's order, essentially, they kill the businessman, which is interesting. There's a line in there as well where the general says, I think, he says something like, oh, people already blame the water companies anyway. So I don't know whether that's, like, the implication there is that, like, they see him as a convenient fall guy. I assume that's what they mean by that. But obviously that has some interesting kind of implications there. So yes, they do kill this guy, which is interesting, because obviously I kind of got the sense early on that he was kind of pulling the strings of that relationship a lot more. When they met with the generals in episode 1 and 2, I thought, oh, okay, he maybe is going to use some of his money to financially aid this, or, you know, have his agenda kind of enacted. But no, if anything, the generals and the military use him as the fall guy, which I think is an interesting. I think it's an interesting twist that I wasn't expecting. That's one thing I got to say about like these two episodes in particular. The twists and turns, I just wasn't expecting them. Like, when I tell you, my jaw was on the floor that moment where Kate almost gets shot, but in fact Ibrahim does get shot. I'm not joking, guys. Like, I was gasping for a solid 5 minutes, just like, because I remember as well, like, I think it was Gemma Redgrave saying, like, oh, you know, if Kate survives this series, and I kind of went, yeah, but like, she will, though, won't she? And now I'm kind of like, well, she might not. They've killed General Austin Pierce, who's been here since Children of Earth, killed Ibrahim, this guy, obviously, who's new in this show, but like, no one seems to be off the table. It's definitely escalated. So anyway, after that, so that's what the point I was trying to get at. I got sidetracked. Basically, I think that those military people also control the Institute. I think it's all one thing. I don't think they're separate at all. Because, like, what, you're telling me there's another random institute that we've never heard about that just so happens to be carrying out every single thing that the military already wanted to begin with, and the US military already wanted to begin with? I don't buy it. I think they're more linked than they're letting on. So anyway, moving on. Barclay is back online. Obviously, he was rescued by Salt via a kiss. Ooh, getting all a bit spicy. And obviously, he comes to land, but of course, because Salt rescued him, the humans capture Salt, who they believe has basically declared war on them, essentially. So they're holding her, and they basically say that they are going to transport her to Unit Tower, and his mate, who I don't think we've seen prior to this, but someone who worked with him at Unit basically said, oh, they're going to make her into sushi, they're going to slice her up, and all of the rest of it. And he's like, well, not if I have anything to say about it, and reverses her into the ocean so that she can escape, and he escapes with her. So they are now on the run. As of now, it is them two against everyone. And I do mean everyone, because not only are the humans incredibly annoyed by this act, but of course, Homo Aqua as well is also, and this is where we get introduced to another new sort of leader figure, another Homo Amphibia, who are implied to be their leaders, called Tide, who is basically demanding that Salt come back down and basically face punishment because she fled whilst all the other Sea Devils died, and that's kind of against their creed, against their code and stuff. And especially because she saved a human instead. You know, that's like a big kind of like sign of disrespect, a big sign of kind of like, well, why would you do that kind of thing? So they basically demand, give us Salt, find Salt, sort your stuff out in 5 years, or we are going to turn everything into rust. That was another interesting element of this, obviously. The idea that there's water in the air, which they can also control and make things rust over, which is not even something I considered, but like, it makes sense. I mean, they can also obviously make plastic come all out the ocean, which, I mean, I think they have a line in here as well, because I saw a lot of people saying, like, after episodes 1 and 2 came out, why even continue diplomatic talks at all if they've like already, you know, thrown the plastic out the ocean, which most of humanity would probably already see as an act of war anyway. And I think the reason for that, they say, is like these creatures could wipe us out in 5 minutes. You know, so they need to like obviously prepare counter strategies. They can't just immediately declare war, because if they did, then they don't know what they're fighting against. But obviously the military is smart. And as I was kind of saying in the first 2 episodes, how it's kind of like Children of Earth, but we're the villains, that is extenuated even more here. Like, humanity is the bad guys, but specifically, the military is the bad guys specifically, and the politicians specifically are really the ones that are letting the side down here. But that's also reflected in Aquakind as well, who immediately want to punish Salt for saving Barclay. But obviously, I'm getting ahead of myself, but obviously we learn a bit about their escape as well. Obviously, Kate is the ambassador in this scene because they can't get anyone else. She goes off script like Barclay does, um, and then yeah, basically they leave, and we go back to Salt and Barclay on the run. Again, one thing I want to say as well: the humor still has some very funny moments in this. Particularly one time where they steal a phone from a bloke, um, and she's like, "Can I hiss again?" And he's like, "No, no, we're done with that. Now we don't need to do that again." Um, so that was very, very good. But there were a couple of jokes that I found a little bit cringe. Just a couple of jokes where I was like, I don't know about that one. I think it's when they reveal the rust, and then I think it's the one who's in sex education goes, "Oh, we're rusted, like busted." And I was like, I don't know, that kind of killed the tension a little bit for me personally. I think like when the jokes land, they really do land, but I don't think they need to be everywhere. You know, I think there's like a couple of moments where the jokes are there, where they don't quite need to be there. Would be one of my other like criticisms of it. Um, but still, there are some really funny moments, like when they're on the run. Hang on, I'm skipping forward again because when they're on the run here, Salt makes a joke about Barclay's fins, obviously being his ears. And they do have good chemistry. Gugu Mbatha-Raw and Russell Tovey have great chemistry. And I gotta say, credit to Gugu because the way she performs this character, like it's not an easy process to do in all of these prosthetics and stuff. So to be able to do that and also convey a level of like emotion and you know, convincing like chemistry among all that prosthetics is genuinely impressive. Again, all the performances here top notch, visually top notch. Uh, I think the only couple of issues I have, like I say, are really just dialogue based. Like a couple of the emotional lines and a couple of the jokes don't quite land for me. But that really is my like only real issue here. Um, so yes, obviously, as I said, we get some scenes with Barclay and Salt on the run. Da, da, da. They're over the fire, obviously, and then we get kind of the proper steamy scene of them necking on, and obviously she even sees his little Barclay, and obviously that's a bit of a comedic moment as well. Um, I think that's the bit that like I think that's the bit that probably did feel the most. What's the word I'm looking for? Because most of the rest of the show is very grounded. This is probably the bit that I can imagine like the most normal people going, not sure whether I'm into this. But then again, I suppose it's not an uncommon trope. You know, you look at stuff like Avatar or Shape of Water, which a lot of people have compared this to. Like it does happen. So maybe people are fine with this. I don't know. But I can see some people maybe who don't really watch sci-fi stuff going, ugh, do you know what I mean? But who knows, really. Kate then is walking around. She visits the memorial of all of the soldiers who died. Apparently, as well, she goes to visit the mother of one of the soldiers who died, but I don't think we see that on screen. Presumably, she did though. Um, yeah, we get obviously them on the run together. They hatch this plan basically to escape to the north of Wales. And she says, "Oh, I can be the witch of the waterfall. I can live in the waterfall," which is obviously the name of this episode. They steal that phone, which is quite a fun scene. Uh, yeah, like as I said, when the jokes work, they really work. Like I really thought the stealing the phone scene was funny, but there's just a couple of lines where I'm like, I don't think we needed a joke there. Would be my only real criticism of it. But he calls Kirby on essentially a burner phone because it's revealed that her mum didn't want her mum wanted to be able to read all her texts, so the dad got her a secondary phone so she could have her privacy, or they can have her privacy, or they can have their privacy. I should say, um, and that was funny. I mean, it just kind of goes to show I don't like this woman. I don't like the mum. And obviously, initially, I thought they were redeeming the mum slightly because I saw a lot of people kind of saying after the first two episodes aired, "Oh, I really don't like this mum. You know, she's being really horrible." But I sort of said that obviously my parents are divorced, and that's kind of just how some divorced couples talk to each other. They're not exactly going to be the most warm or considerate or understanding of the other situation. That's just how that works. But I thought initially when they were trying to like get her to comfort Barclay at the start of episode 3, oh okay, they're trying to like they're trying to sort of basically redeem her a little bit. Nope, they don't, because she snitches, and I assume it is her because the child is like not happy with her for doing it. So the implication is, I think, she did it much the same way as is very similar. People pointed out to Martha's family in series 3, only the reverse, where the the government are there trying to get them to ask them where they are, and the family betrays the army to save Martha. This is the other way around. The mother betrays Barclay to the army. And then we get probably what was one of the most insane moments in like the end of this episode. Obviously, it just happened. Like obviously, so you've got Unit obviously are now aware of where Barclay and Salt are rendezvousing, but also so are the British military, now under control of that bloke. What's his name? I can't remember what his name is, but basically the evil American bloke, shall we say? And then we get this like really tense scene where, and I think this is one of the first things we saw be filmed for this show, where Barclay and Thing are on the bridge, Salt are on the bridge. They go over to the car and they're like, "Oh, it's trap, run!" And then two sides of the army come together. So you've got Unit on one side and you've got the regular British army on the other, and it's this power struggle of like, okay, but Unit have their own interests, and the army have their own interests. They're kind of, and Kate's like, point the guns at the soldiers, and then the Americans like, you're not gonna fire on British soldiers on British soil. You won't do that. It's like, don't try my patience. Like Kate is such an interesting character in this. It just makes me wonder where this was the entire time she's existed prior. But yeah, like that was really good and really tense. Because obviously, as I said, like the military and the government have kind of been trying to undermine Unit every turn, which does make sense given there's fairly high amounts of anti-Unit sentiment in this universe now because of like Lucky Day and all of that sort of stuff. So they kind of see it as Unit don't really have our interest at heart. They are too soft, too willing to work with the aliens. We're going to do our own thing, which leads to obviously, as I said, this kind of this kind of shootout situation, this kind of Mexican, this kind of, is it called a Mexican standoff, where basically you've got two sides there, but eventually, of course, Salt gets away, and Barclay is captured, and he says, "You will never swim alone," which leads to the end of the episode. I saw some people in the chat saying they found that line cringe. I get it. I don't really mind it too much, but I can kind of get where they're coming from here. Also really funny that as someone who lives in Cardiff, I can tell you for a fact that this was definitely in Cardiff, especially some of those walkways. I've been in those walkways, they ain't in London, I'll tell you that. But they do a good enough job of concealing that to most people, so they probably won't notice. But that is episodes 3 and 4 of The War Between the Land and the Sea. I am incredibly impressed. Again, is this show like absolutely perfect? No, no show is. But what it is it's compelling. It's incredibly tense. It's dramatic. I never know where it's going to go. Things always happen. Wait, is DW Fan 91 in the chat? Hello? Hello? Sean Lawson says, "I'm really curious how this wraps up in 45 minutes. Yeah, I saw someone say, apparently it's Russell writing the finale, right? So I saw someone saying that maybe they were a bit concerned because obviously Russell and finales of late, not the best track record. The pacing is really good. I agree. I did think initially that like the scenes of them going underneath maybe went on a little bit too long, but actually no, I think the build-up was just about right. In hindsight, episode 5 is 53 minutes, so it is a bit longer. Am I missing something? Everyone seems to be saying that Kate has a baby, but I did not get that. I did not get that implication. Yeah, I think episode three's pacing was a little bit slow to start with, but then again, given everything that like happens afterwards, like I'm kind of fine with that. In hindsight, it makes sense to have a slower moment before basically shit hits the fan, essentially. But yeah, what's everyone's thoughts in the chat? I'm trying to gauge it. What's episode five called? Does anyone know? I know she has a daughter in Dubai, but people are implying that she's pregnant, which I did not get the vibe of. Uh, the episode five is called "The End of the War." Okay, interesting. Okay. Da, 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 da. I was going to see something else. Hang on, I'm going to scroll up because I saw a chat then I wanted to read. Again, sorry if I've not been reading chat too much. I wanted to go over like um the actual thing. I saw someone say something that I wanted to respond to and I can't find it. Where's it gone? Chat's going quickly. Yeah, apparently it's just under an hour, the final episode apparently. Which is good. It needs that extra time. Um oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I saw someone commenting on the master rumors, which were going around like years ago. The idea basically that Barkley was secretly going to be revealed to be like the master. I'm going to say right now, I don't think that's the vibe of this show at all, and I don't think that's what this is going to lead to. If it did, I'd be incredibly disappointed. I'd be incredibly disappointed because this show has such a good identity on its own, and I think doing some sort of fan service to Doctor Who fans like that would kind of ruin it. I don't think that's where they're going with it, though. I don't get that vibe at all from this. Um, I'd hate if he's the master; it'd be so dumb. I agree. I don't think they'll do that. Um, I saw someone say that these episodes were all 6 out of 10. I can't agree. Um, Sam, that the guy from Flux or Epicate mentioned. I do not. Is there a line where they imply that she's pregnant? I did not get that vibe at all. But everyone keeps saying it. Like, unit get booted out of the tower by HOA. Well, that's interesting. We haven't actually seen the tower for this entire show, which I think is an interesting choice. Obviously, we see it, I think, in the skyline. Doctor shows up in the last 5 minutes and talks to Kate. It sounds like something RTD would do. Yeah, again, I don't want that. I want it to just be its own thing. I'm hoping they have the good sense to let it be its own thing. Kate isn't pregnant. Yeah, I didn't think so, but everyone was saying she was. Oh, it's a joke, I think. Okay. Okay. I was confused because all of my chat were just saying Kate pregnant, and I'm like, no, she's not, right? Like, I thought I was going insane. I thought I was missing something because everyone kept spamming it. Is Rose Noble still a notable unit role? I don't know. I mean, they do mention Morris. Morris got a mention. Okay, yeah, no, it is a joke. Okay, cool, cool. Just so I know. Okay, cool. Hi, Darius. Just watched episode 3 and 4 and seriously thinking if RTD doesn't screw up the ending, The War Between Land and Sea can be considered the best spin off I've watched. No bias. I don't think it quite. Uh, I don't think it quite matches Children of Earth, but it's probably second. Uh, I think it's fair to say. Kate does still have a kid employed. Old habits die hard, I guess. Uh, Maybe that's why her kid's in Dubai. She's like, Mum, I'm not letting you conscript me. So you know what? I'm just gonna flee to Dubai. Which, you know what? Makes sense. Salt will be pregnant though, for real. Well, do you want to know something I thought, right? When Tide came out, I was like, now there's no way that's actually their kid. And actually, like, them kissing is what procreation is to Sea Devil. It wasn't. He's just a different character. But initially, in my head, I was like, hang on. They spend the night together, they kiss, and then all of a sudden, this new male Sea Devil comes out. Interesting. But yeah, I don't think that was that. I think that was just me thinking that at the time. Um, People are just looking like, no, it's fine. It's just obviously I can tell because I just saw a bunch of chat saying Kate pregnant, and I was like, I don't know where you're getting this from. But no, broadly, incredibly impressed with this show. It's tense. It looks great. It like the actors are killing it. Again, my main issue is just maybe some of the lines of dialogue are a bit clunky in places, and I would also say that some of the humor might not be needed in some scenes. Again, particularly the rust line, I thought it's kind of unnecessary when he's like, "Oh, we've been rusted." Like, don't really need that line in there. But other than that, I've been incredibly impressed with this show. The thing is, there's only one episode left, right? So, oh wait, it's Tharies. The Severance thing was that the guy's name from Flux the Snake who invaded Unit. His name was the Grand Serpent, right? Unless he had a thing called Severance. I don't think that relates to that, does it? When she said about finding her brother, phoning her brother, I found that a little bit awkward. Yeah, so did I. It felt a bit like, oh, we need to do empathetic dialogue for these characters. Let's write in a scene where she mentions she has a brother that she hasn't seen in 20 years. That's my main issue. Is some of the lines are a bit clunky in places, but other than that, it's a really good bit of drama, and I'm engaged. Disrespect to the person who just said she tasted Barclay's salt. That is vile. Whoever that is, ban them. No, I'm joking. You're fine. Yeah, that's crazy. That's wild. Whoever said that. Who was the? I was confused. Who's the third ambassador? So the third ambassador was just. Oh wait. Oh no. The third ambassador was the Rust, I believe. Like the concept of Rust was there. Like I think what they meant by that is that basically that's their equivalent of like a nuclear option, rather than being an actual physical entity. That's basically like that's their insurance policy kind of thing. That's the vibe I got. I will never forgive them for General Austin. I was shocked by that. I was. Again, sorry if I miss any chats. It's going very quickly. Obviously, as I said, if you want to get something definitely read, you can super chat. But of course, you don't have to. But if I miss something, I apologize. I always feel bad. I try and get to all of them, but I don't think that's going to be possible tonight. But thank you all for coming to talk about this with us. You can also subscribe as well. There's a little thing in the corner over there. I don't know whether there's been any more notifications. I don't think there has. Do you think Martha might make an appearance? See, that would be an appearance I'd be more okay with because she actually, last we heard, worked for Unit. So as long as they didn't go, oh my god, it's Martha from Doctor Who, and they just had it be that she was someone who, works at Unit, which she is, I'd be fine with that. For the last episode, with leaks or RTD rumoring it, do you think the big shock for the ending would be a post-credit scene with Billy Piper's Doctor, just a quick tease, then an announcement? See, I was wondering this as well. I don't know. I don't think. Again, it doesn't. I don't know whether it necessarily fits the vibe. However, what I will say is that this show seems to have been captivating the general audience in a way that Doctor Who has. So if you want to get eyes on what Doctor Who's doing at the moment, it might be a good time to do that. Friendly Otaku 9525. I was more shocked by General Austin Pierce's death than Ibrahim. Um, Both took me by surprise, but especially Pierce. Yeah, I think it's just because he's been around so long, right? Like he's been, even if he hasn't been like in the show particularly frequently, he's been a part of like Doctor Who furniture for so long. I was genuinely shocked when they killed him because he doesn't really get like a heroic sacrifice either. He just dies with everyone else. Um, RCD will hit the reset button and bring them all back to life. I really hope they don't. I really hope they don't. Like, I reckon though. I reckon though. There's more of a chance of the the consequences sticking with this episode and with this show than there is the main show. Because in the main show, obviously, it's a show for the family. It's the show for the kids. They've got to keep it nice and fluffy because it's Doctor Who. You know, it's the family show. With this, and obviously similarly with things like Torchwood, they can afford to have characters die because it isn't the main show. So I really hope they commit to that. Actually, what other places has the General been? He's been in quite a few bits of Torchwood, I believe. I think he was also in Doctor Who at some point, I want to say, but I can't remember when. The scene where the bomb goes off and the Sea Devils go flying reminded me of Interstellar Song Contest where all the bodies go flying. Yes! Visually, yes, it did look kind of similar. He was a ghost in Series 9's Under the Lake. He was. I believe that's a different character there, but he was in that. That's just further proof that Britain has three actors. What about the pills? They weren't explained. They were, weren't they? I thought they were explained in episode 1 and 2 that that was like a thing. I don't know. Maybe I got that wrong. Also, I guess you got the final episode. Maybe look, maybe the pearls have some secret significance in the final episode. We don't know. Oh, interesting idea. Severance bring back Ibrahim back to life as an inside man for unit. Could they could they do that? Yeah, I thought what the pearls were the communication. I thought that's how they were able to interact. Or am I crazy? That's what I thought that was. I thought Mel would appear in this. I didn't thingy. Didn't Bonnie Langford say she was? So maybe the finale. I don't know. I have to say though, like I'm not really. I'm kind of at a point where I am not I am not craving Doctor Who references. If anything, I'm kind of in the opposite camp of I kind of don't want them to like address that. Do you know what I mean? Because I think it's been working well as its own thing, and I kind of want them to stick to that. Yeah, I thought the pearl was for communication. That's what I thought. Sometimes I think we all sleep with a fish. It is crazy though, isn't it? How different Kate feels in like Doctor Who finales compared to this. Like completely different character. And all the better for it. I'm not saying that as a bad thing for War Between. If anything, I think that she's like the best I've ever seen her by far. Pete McTeague has been better here than all of his previous episodes, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, I think you can definitely draw parallels to like Lucky Day with this, certainly. But it definitely is one of his strongest outings. Again, I don't think it's perfect, but damn, it's good tally though, isn't it? Like I was on the edge of my seat. I was shocked. Let me put out a poll actually. I want to ask you guys. Hang on, how do I go do poll time? Poll time, everybody. All right, how do I do this? There hasn't been much war considering the show's title. I don't know whether I agree with that because I kind of think that the way that most like modern wars are fought, it isn't just let's go straight to war. Like let's be honest, like if there was a war now between like most of the major like powers in on Earth, it wouldn't be oh yeah, let's just immediately go into a field and start killing each other. It's the it is, you know, part of it is the negotiations, part of it is the inside jobs, the spying, the all of the rest of it. Do you know what I mean? This Kate feels a lot like Kate from A Lucky Day, and I agree. And I said at the time that that's probably prior to this where I enjoyed Kate the most. Well, that's the thing as well. 15 is also meant to be on Earth at this point. Everyone's making fun of 14 for like not showing up, but technically, if we're going by um, if we're going by current Doctor Who canon, then both 14 and 15 were on Earth at this time. Shirley has more to do in this. Yes, I noticed that too. There's that moment where she says, "All right, all comms going through me. Everyone else, shut up. I'm assuming command while Kate is grieving." Colonel Ibrahim. Start a poll. Let your viewers weigh in. Okay, thoughts. I'm just gonna put thoughts. Oh. And there's going to be four options. They're going to be great, good, mid, and we had one more option, bad. Close up with Darius W. It's just because I was typing on my keyboard, I had to lean forward to get my keyboard. There you go. I'm just asking you guys my thoughts. By the way, if you're wondering why I haven't tweeted out the link to this, it's because they locked my Twitter account for 12 hours because people were talking about a certain like right-wing influencer who said that he loved a certain Austrian dictator man, and I said we used to say a lot worse about the likes of Fuentes and put a bunch of images up of old British propaganda against a certain group in World War II. And then they said that that was violent, and then they blocked my account for 12 hours. So if you're wondering why I wasn't there, that's why. Because I called a fan of those people what he was and what we used to say about people like that, and then they went, "Nah, he's gone." I was on the edge of my seat, but I did laugh a lot. I get that, actually. Yeah, I do get that. Okay, so the votes are starting to come in. 65 of you have just voted. 66 now. With 66% saying great, 26% saying good, 8% saying mid, and 2% saying bad. The Doctor's TARDIS doesn't land on Sunday, so he misses all this stuff. I mean, yeah. I mean, well, unless they're 13, in which case they land all the time. Proud of you for doing that, Darius. Oh, it wasn't anything. The thing is, it wasn't even anything that daring. It was just me saying we used to say basically to the villains of the World War II, like, we will get rid of you. And the idea that that's controversial to say now about someone who openly professes their love of the guy who leads that is insane. 12 needs to come in and speech them to surrender. Yeah, I mean, I hope nothing like that happens. I don't think they will. Like I said, I don't think that's the vibe. Anyone seen that video by Who called "Meanwhile During the Plastic Apocalypse," showing what the 14th Voodoo Doctor are doing? No, I don't think I have. Maybe the Doctor knew Barclay is a historic figure and it's a fixed point in time, and the Doctor can't change anything. There you go. There's your workaround. War Between Studios has just figured it out. There's the workaround. There you go. Definitely felt episode 4 was the weakest so far. Pacing fell off. However, 3, however, was the best. What's your episode ranking so far? I don't know. I kind of disagree. If anything, I'd say 3 was slightly weaker than 4, personally. 3 really picked up towards the end. But I would say 3 was the weakest. Not bad, but I would say that's the weakest for me. Then probably 4, then 1, then 2. I think episode 2 was the best. I think. Oh yes, RTD and Unit and Briggs Torchman back. Well, that's the other thing I wanted to say. Barclay says, and I have to assume that this was a little wink and a nod to us fans in the audience, being like, oh, they're outside the government and beyond the police when describing Unit. Did anyone else notice that? He said that exact phrase, and I sort of went, uh. Is the finale only 45 minutes? According to what people are saying in the chat, apparently it's longer than that. I wonder what's happening with the Titanic. I don't know. Did they just leave it? I don't know. Everyone was going crazy about the first 2 episodes being better than Doctor Who had for years, and I didn't quite agree. It's outnumbered in episodes for a start. After these 2, I totally see it. I think this show is definitely what I want Doctor Who to be more of. And I think I will be doing a video at some point talking about what the lessons that Doctor Who can learn from this show are, because the drama is the most compelling stuff we've seen in the era. Like, all the twists and turns and the betrayals and all of that sort of stuff. Obviously, you got to bear in mind, it is a different type of show, so there is that element to it. But I think you can incorporate some of that into Doctor Who as well. Especially if you were to go more into a serialized route with Doctor Who in particular. Loved the plastic apocalypse, however, does anyone know how the homeworker achieved it? I just kind of took it as they have technology beyond our grasp. Don't think about it. And I know that, like, obviously, people will say that that's kind of like, oh, well, you've heard them just say don't think about it because it needs to make sense. But, like, it's implied that they have technology way beyond us. And, like, they even say if Homo Aqua wanted to wipe us out, they could have done, I think, in this episode. So my understanding of that is just they have some technology we do not grasp. To be honest, I'm kind of glad that there wasn't, like, a 10-minute long scene being, oh, well, we used the quantum epic defibrillator 3000 to hoist the trash out of the... You know what I mean? I'm kind of glad they didn't do that, because to most of the general audience, they don't care, you know? This feels like RTD's passion project, and it was indeed the first thing he pitched when he came out. Well, yeah, this was the first thing he wrote. And I have to wonder, and I think I said this in a previous stream, like, if this was the first thing pitched to do Disney, which the implication of what we've been told it was, makes you wonder if Disney thought that this would be the tone for the whole show. Money. Oh my god! Oh, we got yes, a £5 super chat from who is it? Let me get your name up. I've just missed it. Awesome Gamer EG2KN has donated £5 and said, hoping to God Russell lands this ending, because while I've liked this, I also like Legendary Sunday and Wish World. Please stick the landing. I agree. I mean, yeah. I mean, I think, to be fair, I would say that these episodes, and like episode 4, have more substance than at least Legendary Sunday. I think that one was basically just, hey guys, I wonder which classic Who villain's gonna be behind it. Whereas I think the build up here feels more organic, if that makes sense. Like, it's based on the drama, not based on who's the thing from the past that's coming back. Do you know what I mean? But thank you very much for the super chat. Yo, I noticed Darius and me have the same calendar. Yeah, my mum actually, every year she always gets the new calendar. So it's always in the back. So if you go back through my videos over the years, you'll see all the different ones. Since about, I think, probably like 2022, I think. 2021, 2022. I missed that. Sorry, I keep missing bits because the chat is going fast. Again, as I said, thank you to Awesome Gamer for super chatting. That means I can get to him immediately, because it is hard to read all these people. I'm not used to it. I don't stream that often. I think I will do more of it, for sure. I want to do more of it, because I quite enjoyed having the live back and forth. It makes me feel like I'm having a conversation with you guys, about the episode rather than it just being me talking to myself, which I technically am now because none of you are actually here. But you know what I mean. You guys are on the other end. Cue the master reveal. I said this earlier in the stream. I would be so annoyed if they did that. I'd be so annoyed if they had all this like genuinely good drama only to throw it away on a classic Who reveal. Like or like you know like a pre-existing Who villain. Like I just don't think I just don't think it's needed, and I hope they have the restraint not to do that. Like, no, I don't even really want the Doctor to show up. To be honest, I don't want the Doctor to show up. I don't want the Master to show up. I don't want women, anyone. I mean, if I mean, okay, to be clear, if Billy Piper Doctor or someone like that, or 14 or whatever, shows up in a post credits, that's you know that's a different matter. But I don't want them to show up in the show. Do you know what I mean? If they show up in a post credits thing where all the plot's done, that's different. But I don't need them in the show itself. Does that make sense? The 60th live streams were peak. They were. I did love the 60th live streams. I think I probably will do more filming live streams when filming starts next year because those were fun. It slightly mirrors Children of Earth. Important death. Earth is threatened everywhere. Ongoing negotiations. If Kate goes on top of a hill after all this and uses Project Indigo, I would love. Yeah, it definitely does mirror it, but I think also Russell has acknowledged that. He kind of said that they make for a good double bill. Again, I think it's more. They mirror it, but obviously in this case, Homo Aqua have much more of a point and like a reason to be annoyed, whereas the 456 are just evil, you know? 16 Doctor in post credits. See, yeah, that I wouldn't mind because that then is like. That then is like after the actual plot. If it's after the plot, if it's in a post credit, fine. Let this stand on its own. This program is the biggest pile of far-fetched nonsense I've ever seen. Poor acting, terrible script, and the science is non-existent, just awful. I mean, it is called science fiction for a reason, I would gently point out. Second of all, I don't agree. If this is some of the worst TV you've ever seen, I would suggest watch more television because this is by no means the worst television that ever exists. It's not even the worst Doctor Who thing that's come out this year. So I mean, yeah, I don't agree. I agree that some of the dialogue isn't quite there, but I think to say that it's all terrible is I don't agree with that. I think that this had some incredibly good drama. Will we ever see Belinda and Ruby again? I somehow doubt it. Of all the deaths, I've actually gutted Pierce has left us. Yeah, that is a mad one. Like that only really hit me like 10 minutes after it happened because obviously, like I said, he doesn't really get like a noble sacrifice or like a big death or anything. It kind of just is. Oh yeah, no, like he died in the blast as well because you hear his name over the what's it called um the news reports. They say like, oh, the 5 that have been reported dead, and it goes through the name, then it goes general loss of millions. Oh yeah, no, he's dead. Like that did take me out for a second because I hadn't fully processed that at the time. Um, we've been rusted, cringe. Yeah, that was cringe. I will agree. That line was cringe. I said that earlier. A post-credit tease is a tease for fans, so I'm fine with that. Yeah, if they want to do a post-credit tease for Doctor Who fans and say to the general public who seem to have connected with the show, hey, we've got this other stuff going on next year, fine. But let this story, please, Russell, I know you listened because I ended up on the blooming show, but listen, please, if there is a God, let this story be its own thing. I'm begging you. If you let this story be its own thing and conclude it well, you will be rewarded. Because this has been some of the best drama we've had in Doctor Who for a while. Again, not perfect. Very, very compelling. Very, very compelling. Funeral for Ibrahim might be fun, actually. I didn't think about that. gonna be Mara, isn't it? Maybe, or the Merker. I was thinking when we initially saw those fish people, I was like, hang on, are they finally gonna do the Merker? But no. I can't get over how much I love Kate in this. Same, honestly. Like, I've never been a massive fan of Kate, but my god, and Gemma Redgrave's so talented. It baffles me that she's been in the show this long, and it took this long to actually do something with Kate. But I'm glad they are, at least. Fairly Otaku, actually, on that subject. If anything happens to Kate, I will be very upset. See, initially, when they were, as I said before, like, when they were saying in the press interviews, oh, you know, if Kate survives this series, I kind of thought, yeah, whatever, like, you know, it's not gonna do anything to Kate, are they? But then, like, Colonel Ibrahim died, and General Austin Peters died, and I'm like, no, Kate's not safe, necessarily. She was pretty good in Flux, but I don't think. I mean, the performance was good, but I don't think she really. I don't think the meat was there in the same way that it is with this. I'm honestly not a fan of Barkley and Salt's romance. Feels forced to me. I think it needed more time to be established, for sure, 100%. Like, definitely. But at the same time, it's 5 episodes, so it's kind of like it's kind of a is that kind of a problem of the medium, or should they put more scenes into establish? I don't know, because I suppose how do you establish it any quicker when by the mechanic of the plot they're separated? Before we saw Ibrahim's body, I actually did think Kate was killed off in that moment. I did as well, honestly. I wasn't sure, and I think they do deliberately keep it vague in the scene. Like, you're not supposed to know completely which one of them died. Because initially I thought maybe it would be the case of like, oh, she didn't die from the bullet, but like maybe some of the debris, some of the shrapnel, some of the glass did. But no, no. Watch everything that was funded by Disney budget get rusted in the finale. True. Do you reckon they'll blow up that unit tower? I honestly thought both died. Yeah, I think they deliberately kept that vague. I wish this series had more episodes. Shame. Yeah, same. It's honestly a shame that this show ends next week. You know, it only lasts for about 3 weeks and then it's over. Colonel Ibrahim has been established character for 2 years, so I don't see why people are saying he's a throwaway. Because let's be honest, was there a ton to him in the episodes that he was in? I mean, look, it's nothing against Colonel Ibrahim. I like the actor fine enough, but there wasn't much to him in the show, was there? So I think we can say pretty safely that he mainly existed for Kate's journey. Really, like if we're being realistic. Theories, if we're talking about the 2026 special, how do you think they're going to work around filming for Wednesday in February? Feels like another case of lack of full spectrum RTD. I think people are kind of blowing that out of proportion. They've got a whole year. Like, they'll figure that out. I don't know why everyone. I know that, like, obviously there was a rumor that, like, it was going to be done in February, but they could change it. As I know, I think I did say that, like, their deal to film it ends in February. Um, but I don't know. As presuming they've like commissioned an episode, they probably would extend that deal for that year, right? Um, where's the Blinks? God knows, but I'm glad he's not here. God knows, but I'm glad he's not here. Uh, sorry to the Blinks on Twitter. Uh, It's one episode. It takes less than a month to shoot. Exactly. That's my point. Like, I think people are being a bit too like doomery about that. Like, it's one episode. It's not like with Shooty where he had filming commitments over the course of an entire like series. Different thing, you know. Is this series going to continue, or will it be a limited series? Well, what's interesting, I remember when the handles were set up for this, and it was called just The War Between, like it was called The War Between TV or something, right? Which to me kind of implied that there could presumably be more The War Between, etc., etc., something else and something else. What that would be, I don't know. But the implication that gives to me is that maybe there could be more. Will there be? I don't know, because on one level, Disney funding is gone, so maybe that would make BBC hesitant to do any other spin-offs. On the other hand, though, it's probably worth pointing out that this show has done better than any of Doctor Who has, bar Christmas specials, since the 60th. So I mean, if I were them, because obviously even if this was part funded by Disney money, right, it's not going to cost anywhere near as much as the Doctor Who series is. Like, you can make shows like this without Disney, right? Like, theoretically, the BBC can make this show. Yeah, you might have a couple of less. You might have a couple of less. You might have a few less. What am I saying? You might have a few less like international scene. You might have a few less international scenes, but like you could still do this show without Disney money theoretically, right? This is a limited series, but I could see it's becoming an anthology. Maybe the war between Flesh and Steel, featuring the Cybermen. Oh, that could be good. I wouldn't. I think it was Mr. TARDIS. Someone on Mr. TARDIS' stream the other day suggested this. But like, what if they did like a year of like a Doctor Who series, and then like a year of one of these, and then like it alternated between the two? That could be interesting. That could work. Because then as well, you could give the main cast a break for a year, and also then you could have a Doctor with an actual longer tenure. Maybe. I think the show is pretty self-contained within itself, but I think you could do. I think there's room to do this concept with other things. Just call it the war between and you know. I wouldn't be against that at all. I think like it kind of kills two birds with one stone because you get a lower budget thing to fill the gap for a year, which obviously would cost way less than a Doctor Who series. Like you don't need as many locations or big, SFX or anything like that. You also get to give the main cast a break so that way they can actually stay for more than like a year. You know what I mean? Like because like or a year and a half in Shooty's case. What's the biggest mistake Bad Wolf have made in this era? I mean, I don't think it was their mistake, but I mean, the midnight and 8 a.m. thing would be the true biggest mistake of the era, if you want my honest thought. Other than that, I would say they they miscalculated the tone and the target audience, and they. I want to do a whole video on this, so stay tuned. But in essence, I think when I look at a show like The War Between the Land and the Sea, this is a show that has a clear tone and direction and target audience from start to finish. Like it is a more mature show targeting slightly older people, and like normal people at that, not Doctor Who fans, people who just watch normal television, right? That's the audience, okay? Doctor Who didn't have that because simultaneously you've got episodes like Space Babies that exist for kids, little kids seeing Doctor Who for the first time. It's like quite literally baby's first Doctor Who episode. But then in that same series, you have episodes like 73 Yards, which is this big esoteric, weird kind of like Black Mirror type episode. And then you have a finale like Empire of Death that is classic Who fan wank. And the three things just don't mix to form a cohesive whole. They just don't. Whereas this has a solid and consistent identity throughout the entire thing. Does that make sense? The war between fiction and reality. Pantheon focus miniseries. Yeah, I mean, that's how they could wrap up the God stuff. I'd be interested in that. Because the God stuff was some of the other stuff that did really well on social media as well. This show and, like, Lux, so as in the war between and Lux, did really well on, like, TikTok. Did Who Culture make a video on Whitefeld? I'm not as frequent on Who Culture, but if they have, I mean, it's not necessarily. I wasn't going to do a video on why this era failed necessarily, because I don't think that everything it did was. More so, what the video I want to make is what Doctor Who can learn from War Between. That's what I want to make. But obviously, I'm going to bring up the points of where I think Doctor Who went wrong, where I think this went right. Does that make sense? This show would be way more popular if it wasn't attached to Doctor Who. I mean, to be honest though, it basically already isn't. Like, the thing is, there are people, I had comments on my video, and I have no doubt I'll have people in the comments of this stream, because I have comments on the first review I did for this, saying I had no idea this was a Doctor Who thing. Like, I think for most of the audience, outside of, like, the 2 times they mentioned the Doctor, they kind of just view it as a separate thing. Bearing in mind, you gotta bear in mind, there were people who watched Torchwood who hadn't seen Doctor Who. It came out in Germany, I think, a year before the revival came out. Torchwood, I mean. So they didn't have Doctor Who as context, yet it still did very well over there. How do you think we wrap this up without a cliffhanger? I don't know, but frankly, it's not my job. I'm kind of glad it isn't. I saw a post on Facebook by BC1 with a clip of the show and it got 90k likes. That's nothing. You want to see something insane? I can get it up actually. Hold on. Let me go on to... Let me get it. It's probably going to autoplay, which is going to be annoying. No, it didn't actually. Hang on. War Between Land and Sea. Obviously, I'm not going to click on the videos, but because copyright, of course. But go on to TikTok. Let me go. Can I not sort by like popular? There's one here. Oh yeah, here it is. See this? 1.1 million likes. Not 1.1 thousand, not 101,000, 1.1 million likes. Now, it is important to state that this does not necessarily translate into people watching it, because quite a few people who I've seen posting these clips are people from America who's like, what's this show? Where can I watch it? Which just kind of shows how much of a fumble that was on Disney's end, but I digress. But yeah, obviously you can see here 74,000 likes, 78,000 likes, 1.1 million likes, 46,000 likes, 349,000 likes, and I can actually go into, I don't want to like click on the video because I really don't want to get claimed by the Beeb, because I need the money. Because it's Christmas and I've got gifts and all of that. Right, hold on.
You showed.
Click off that. Click onto here because it was this one that posted it. Yeah, you can see like this clip alone, 15.4 million views, 5.8 million, and then obviously 130k, 190k. Like, social media is loving it. Again, is that gonna necessarily translate into numbers? Impossible to say. But again, as I said previously, this show did do better than Doctor Who on its release. And I have a little theory, and I'm gonna posit it to you as well. I have a feeling, maybe this is me being optimistic, but I have a feeling that this show, the episode 3 and 4, will see a slight bump from the launch. Mainly because it's got basically no competition tonight. That's basically what, you know. I could see it getting a slight bump because of no competition and good word of mouth. That's just a theory, so it could be wrong. And obviously, it's just guesswork on my end, but I think action figures are going to be big. I think so too. I think there's a chance that this actually kind of takes off, which I only see as a good thing, to be honest. Oh yeah, someone said that there was Sea Devil, the classic Sea Devils. Let me see if I can find that. Because someone said that there were classic Sea Devils there, but I didn't see them. But maybe my eyes just weren't looking in the right place. Oh yeah, there it is. Classic Sea Devils. There you go. So they're there. So if everyone's saying, oh, well, what about the classic ones? They're there as well. They're part of the species. They're just part of the evolutionary chain. So there you go. And if anything, hang on, if I look closely, is that netting I see? Interesting. I wonder if it's the same. Wonder if it's the same designs as the 2022 ones, or whether they're different. I mean, it's just for wide shots, so I suppose it wouldn't really matter. Yeah, I did not know they made a brief cameo until someone pointed it out on Twitter. I did not notice. I'm assuming, judging by that picture, that they boosted up the brightness to be able to see it. Fantastic to see the old ones. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of, is it World of Time Dr. Falls, where you see the classic and, like, new Cybermen together? Kind of reminds me of that. Yeah, they kind of look like them. I'm assuming they are the legend ones. Uh, the fact that War Between is doing better in the ratings than most recent Who seasons is an indictment of RTD2. I mean, more specifically, to be honest, it's an indictment of that terrible release schedule, is what it is, more than anything else. I firmly believe, regardless what you want to say about the quality of, RTD2, which, yeah, it played a factor, but you got to bear in mind that before season 1 came out, no one knew what it would actually be like. The numbers were low because the audience was so segmented. That's the main. That's the main reason. I have to say, I much prefer the look of the classic Chibnall ones. See, I'm in a slight disagreement. I kind of prefer the new ones, which I know is sacrilegious to say, because they are different. But I think they're just a bit more convincing, you know? I love that original design, but I think it works in the context of when it is. I don't know whether the designs work so well in the 2020s as, like, the main ones anyway. I think next week we'll take a big plummet from casual viewers. I don't know, because that's the last one. So I don't know whether I agree. They all knew the War Between Land and the Sea action figures from character. Join Barclay, help him release Salt from the cage. Join Barclay and help him activate the truck. Yeah, I mean, we're never getting action figures for this, which is sad, but I just don't see it happening. I'd love it if they did. I don't understand why the BBC promoted Underwater Menace in the closing credits, but not Legends of the Sea Devils. Did they? I mean, more than anything, I'm surprised they didn't just promote the Sea Devils, which they've just done a remake of, if anything. Because I don't know whether I would necessarily tell, like, the casual audience, oh, by the way, go and watch Legends of the Sea Devils after watching that. Very different tone. I think I'm going to wrap it up there because it is 11:30. But thank you all for tuning in. hopefully I'm going to do some more of these. Thank you very much for sticking with me. Please like the video if you enjoy, subscribe if you're new, and I will see you later. Goodbye, everyone.